Whether it's, and we're going to talk about equity or debt financing, the difference between both, and we track those dollar amounts. And center, like when I walked in the center, we're having about, on the highest point, about $2 million a year. And 2 years ago, we had 18 million. We had 13 million last year, and we're tracking pretty well. In terms of our goals, we surpass every one of our goals. And I know they've mentioned, I guess they're a little concerned about our center and the oil and gas, and with the price being down, how things are going to work with us. But there's actually, we're above and beyond where we were last year. So we've had a huge influx of startups, and people and reporters couldn't understand that. So the oil's down. There's a downturn in the economy, yet you have a huge influx of people walking in the door wanting to start. Explain that, and I explained it to one reporter, and next thing you know, I had some other stations calling me and making sure my head was straight. I said, "Yeah, are you sure you're not seeing butterflies or something? It is summer." And I said, "No, our numbers are there to prove it." And so I had to explain why. And as y'all know, usually when I sit in a presentation like that and it's a room full, high school, college students, whoever, I always say 1 in 4 individuals here will be an entrepreneur, will start a business at some point in their life. And I get these looks like, yeah, I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to be a nurse, or whatever. And it does happen later on. We've gotten those calls. I get surprised by these individuals that walk in the door. I'm like, I thought you were happy doing what you were doing. And most of the people don't start a business or get involved because it's the human factor. I'm at a job, I have my benefits, have my retirement, guaranteed salary. Yes, I want to do that, but it's a comfort zone. Well, in a market economy like this, you're pushed out sometimes. If you haven't read the newspaper, how many layoffs we've had, that tells you anything. So now people are pushed out of their comfort zone. It's not a choice. So a lot of those people walk in the door and say, you know what? Now I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, or what I've been thinking, or what I've been dreaming about. And some of them work with their severance packages, some of them look at retirement, and then some of them, the majority, walk in our door. And one of the reasons our center has focused a lot on financing is because the majority of people do come in for finance. Do we get people looking at us, assisting them in other ways of starting a business, such as how do you structure business? We've had some people just as simply as, well, how do I name my business? How do I come up with that name? And we have to toggle around with several names. Okay, I came up with the name. How do I register? How does that work? But the majority of people come in for this. Debt financing is borrowing money that must be repaid over a period of time. Again, lender does not gain ownership interest in the business. Loan is secured by company assets. And most important, the personal guarantee there. A lot of people don't believe they have to guarantee this. And I'd like to explain a little on that. They think if they have a business or they start a business, how can they get business credit and my business guarantee the loan? No, when you're starting off, unless you have a corporation that's been running, it's very well established, and you can look at probably a corporate guarantee, but at the end of the day, still the individual's guaranteeing the loan. Sources, banks, credit unions, commercial finance companies, SBA guaranteed loans, and believe it or not, loans can be done by family members, friends, and former associates. We see them every day. Equity financing, raising money in exchange for shares of ownership in the business. Equity financing allows business to obtain funds without incurring debt or having to repay specific amounts with a specific time. People think this is easier, but it's not. Once again, I said it's more expensive. And at the end of the day, sometimes depending on what you bring to the table, you generally have to sell your soul away. You really do. Every time I educate people and saying, I just sat with an individual last Friday, and he was looking for $2 million, and he said, they don't want to fund me. I said, I want 40% of the company, and I said, well, how much did you put of your own money? He said, nothing. He's lucky if he gets 5%. And so, and now he's asking, now he's saying, okay, if I do accept that, how can I make sure I stay on board and they don't, now he's looking at it from a different perspective. You're truly selling your soul away. If you don't believe me, watch Shark Tank, and that's, I love the show. People, They look at me like, I don't believe you. And I said, well, and so what do you recommend? And I pull out a piece of notepad and I write down Shark Tank, Friday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and watch this show right here. Really? That's the game plan. So, sources may include investors such as friends, relatives, employees, customers, industry colleagues. Believe it or not, sometimes we work with people, they cannot qualify for either one, and tell them look at personal savings or retirement accounts. Oh, I don't want to pull my retirement account. Oh, really? Now you told me you were really passionate, you really believed in this, so tell me what the problem is now. So this is so common nowadays that I don't remember there's a couple of companies that I've met with that'll actually assist you with rolling over your 401k without any tax penalties. It's a very complicated deal. I know that it involves setting up a C corporation. But people are doing it. So debt financing. So now we're going to go over specific types of debt financing. Regular loan, bank loan is the most common form of debt. We need to understand that there's different types of loans, short-term loans, financing for equipment, inventory, working capital needs. And this is very important. This gets companies into trouble all the time. They use short-term loans for long-term needs. And all of a sudden we have a havoc, cash flow issues and all sorts of other problems. And all they did is mismanage this loan here. Lines of credit, short-term loan. I saw somebody right here. It was a doctor that I had in my book of business. And he had a revolving line of credit. He definitely did not revolve that thing. He used it. I was surprised what this guy used his line of credit for. And he was very upset when we took that loan. The bank, this was one of my first deals. It's hard to explain to the doctor, hey, we're going to change your loan and we're going to term it out. And you will be paying closing costs now on that whole restructure. And he just misused the loan. So long-term loans for real estate, long-term equipment, and business acquisitions. So, and there's specific products out here for this, and we're going to talk about those. Mostly for real estate, 504 loans, equipment. We can use 504 for this, and for business acquisitions, we can look at 7A loans. So let's talk about some of the most popular ones, misunderstood loans as well. SBA loans, I think they're misunderstood because 10, 15, 20 years ago, the way SBA used to work, if you want an SBA loan, you would approach the SBA. And people still approach the SBA. Our SBA partners are in Lubbock, and it's funny, right, how many people we get saying, hey, I went to the SBA office in Lubbock, and they told me to come see you. Now, why did I go over there? Well, it doesn't work, and it's usually older people, and they remember that it used to work this way. SBA is no longer handled through SBA. It's the banks that handle the process. So it starts with your regular bank. It truly starts there, and they handle everything. You have to get their commitment. They're going to have to want to do this. First of all, they're going to have to know how to do it, and most banks don't know how to do it. Believe it or not, I've actually sat there, and I've assumed that since a banker wanted to do an SBA loan, yeah, Enrique, we'll do an SBA, and well, here's our client's information, and then we don't see anything happen, and I'm like, hey, so what's going on? What's the status? And I don't know how to do this. It's like, oh. So I had to print out the paperwork. I'm glad I packaged it. I'm like, let me walk you through the process. So I've actually had to train bankers in that. It's a tedious process. So anyways, main advantage to an SBA guarantee is that it extends the term of loan, making the payments smaller. This is the reason people do it. Sometimes, sadly to say, when we look at an SBA loan, sometimes banks are looking at our project and saying, you know, oh, here's a weakness in the project, either in terms of collateral or equity. And one of the ways they mitigate their risk is looking at an SBA loan. That's not always the case. Some people are saying, I want to take advantage of the terms because they extend the terms longer, and I want smaller payments, and SBA makes a difference. Like any insurance product, SBA guarantee costs money. People think this is free or it's cheap. It's once you start looking at the fees at the end, it's not too cheap. Types of SBA loans, you have express loans. They've changed the names on these. I forgot to change the K's on these. It's $20,000 to $150,000. Most people don't understand these. So, lender's advantage. This is a very popular product right now, 150,000 to 350. And just to let you know, these loans right here are solely based on credit. They'll look at collateral, they'll look at other things, but if your credit's not there, you will not qualify for these, okay? They're credit-based loans. If you don't qualify for this one, they could move you into this one right here, the 7A. This is the most popular product out there in the market, right? There's the 7A. We'll talk about specifics, how these 7A loans are used for acquisitions, for specialty projects, but the most popular is the 7A. And then the 504, 200,000 to 5 million. This is mostly real estate, large equipment. So these are done really fast. You can have your money within a week or two. These take a little longer, but you can have usually a 48-hour turnaround in terms of approval. These take anywhere from 30 to 45 days to close after you're approved. If you decide to make any changes, you now move this loan to 3 months, 2 to 3 months. And there's some of our clients that learned this the hard way. They call us crying. Right? Yeah, so she remembers who it was. And then some of these do take along the 504 loans. So, and I'll talk about specialty company institutions that do this, or non-bank institutions, and they're really good at this. I mean, they can do these loans faster. Actually, Troy knows a couple of those individuals. Factoring, the selling of your invoices or accounts receivable for immediate cash. Factoring is very popular around here. Factoring focuses on the credit worthiness of your customer, not your company. Worthiness of your customer, not your company or yourself if you're the company. Institutions advance funds from 75 to 90%, usually the same business day. Fees can range anywhere from 1 to 4%. Believe it or not, our local banks are doing this, and I will talk about this, how it's good and it is not good. Non-bank institutions do this. They're all over the place. They come visit us every other week or every month. I'm okay as long as they take me to lunch. And they're even on online platforms. There's actually companies online now that you can do all your paperwork online for factoring. Bank loans, there's a lot of banks that do factoring, just to let y'all know. Some of the banks I don't agree with. They don't treat it this way right here. Let me see. They actually treat it like a loan product. I don't know why they're checking your credit and they want a business plan. That makes no sense. I think it's people trying to take advantage of the market, but truly don't understand how this process works. So we've actually taken some clients and they say, yeah, I need a business plan or something because I'm about to get a loan. And what kind of loan? We ask a lot of questions. We just don't let people walk out with business plans. For factoring, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, we need to have a come to Jesus conversation here. And so, anyways, we have some representatives here in the in between these four walls that deal in this space here. Some of them I know very well, and some of them I don't know. If you have detailed questions about this, don't ask me, because everybody operates different. We have, raise your hand, Troy, and we have Sarah here. So they're specialists in that. I like factoring because when we start doing financial projections, as Emily knows, we get people that ask, hey, when are you usually paid? 30, 45 days, and sometimes nowadays you're getting pushed. I have 4 businesses, and one of them said, Enrique, I said, hey, my checks haven't come in, what's going on? Oh, we just moved you to 75 days, we forgot to tell you. Oh, God, just moved from 30 to 75 days. That would have been important to let me know. Yeah, and so that's where I just got moved to that, so I'm okay. I don't have any overhead in that particular business. I do downhole tools, and so it won't hurt me. I just have to wait for the checks. But there's people that have payroll needs, have a lot of needs they have to meet, and this is very important. Usually when we do projections, we tell people it makes a difference. You need to know when you're paid out because we have to factor it into our final projections, our accounts receivable. And we do a little spreadsheet where we move out their payables, their accounts receivable 45, 60 days out, and we show them how that impacts their cash flow, and they're like, yikes, that's not gonna work. And that's where this tool comes in, very helpful. So Bank loan requirements in our office. Usually bankers have the 4 C's, the 5 C's, the 6 C's. I even knew a guy that had the 8 C's. I don't know what the other ones, but we try to keep it simple in our office. We do the 4 C's. I'll explain them in a minute, but I'll go over the last 2 conditions. The reason some bankers use this, it's actually really important. We should probably add it in our office. I just don't want to change things. But right now, banks, most of the equipment lenders right now are being a little, they're being a lot more cautious in terms of lending. I remember 8 months ago, we were looking for equipment financing, and they were okay with it. Now they're singing a different tune. I speak to these equipment financing, and the requirements have changed. They want people that, not only people that have been in business for 2 years, they want to know somebody that's actually gone through a downturn in the economy, and that's the kind of experience they want. Character, we're not the judges. We let the bank judge that. You know, somebody walked out of prison, probably not the best person to lend to, but we're not the ones that decide that. Or somebody didn't repay a loan, bankruptcy. There's a guy. I said, okay, before you pursue the bank, is there anything I need to know? I mean, just anything out there in the closet I need to know. I need to know you're gay, but I need to know something else that's going to impact the loan. Oh, I had a bankruptcy. Hold on, time out. When did you have that bankruptcy? 8 years ago. Okay, is it paid off? We have to go through that scenario. And he goes, what do you think? We are not the determining factors of character. We let the bank do that. I said, you're going to credit union. I need you to say that within the first 2 minutes of your conversation with the banker. He did, and believe it or not, he got the loan. Things worked out. I've learned honesty is the best policy. So anyways. Let me go through credit. I always say 700 because if I use our base 665 or 645, it's always drawing a close line. So bankers want to see around, or institutions want to see around 700. 645 for some institutions is the break even. I mean, anything less than that they won't see. There's some bigger banks that it has to be a 675. So I always say 700. Capital, this is how much you inject. Bankers want to see that you have a skin in the game. So if you want a $100,000 loan, you got to bring $20,000 to the table. Normally, if it's an SBA loan, it can be 10, 15%. But normally, you got to be ready for 20%. If you're in the restaurant industry and you've never worked in the restaurant industry, get ready to come to 30, 40% to the table. Depending on your industry, the risk going to be greater. And some people walk in our doors saying, so there's no 100%. They won't give me 100% of the money. No, it's called having skin in the game. So you have to bring something to the table. Collateral, we can look at inventory, receivables, mainly real estate, equipment. So on top of equity, you also need collateral. Some people just come with collateral, say, I have a piece of land. Can I get a $100,000 loan? What's the value of the land? $100,000. Can they just give me a loan? No, you still need the equity. Okay. And some people come with the equity, but they don't bring the collateral. Well, that's going to be tough. Remember the project we worked out, and this guy did not believe me. I mean, I said, 1 every week, you're going to have to bring more to the table here. I said, so what do I have to do? I said, you're probably, since you have no collateral, and there's no collateral involved in your business, you're probably going to have to bring 40% to the table. He thought I was nuts, and I was so didn't hear from him again. A year later, he comes into our office, right, kind of bragging, saying, I got it done. Didn't even need your help. I'm like, great. You don't need my help. That's great. I don't think anybody needs our help. Some people do. I think most don't. You're going to be successful with or without this Small Business Development Center. I have a question. How much equity did you put down? Oh, 40%. Why? That's what we talked about a year ago. It just took him a year later to realize that he really needed to do that. So cash flow, your ability to be able to pay your bills. Remember, you don't have to profit in your business the first couple of months or year, but you do have to have the ability to pay your bills. That's what cash flow is. On a startup, we demonstrate that with the business plan. That's why it's so important. For an existing business, we have to look at financials. Make sure you're cash flowing. Very important. So, bank loan requirements. Now more than ever, they're looking at management and industry experience. I mean, they are looking at this harder than ever. So, very important. Kind of some of the documents that are needed. Very important nowadays, more than ever, business plans, personal financial statements. We help put this together for individuals, personal and business tax returns, resume. This is a deal that looked really good, right? That walking around, we thought, oh my God, man, I told this is a home run deal. And I happened to call the banker, was it yesterday? It was yesterday, yeah. And we found out there's an issue here. There's always an issue. No wonder she didn't want to touch this. We've learned in our office, if it's too good to be true, it's probably not. So anyways, understanding credit. Credit is very important. There's no way around this. For Isaac's Corporation, that's what FICO stands for. I think most of y'all know this. If you don't check your credit once a year, I always tell people, if you're starting a business or you're getting into an endeavor, please check your credit at least 6 months every 6 months, or at least a year, every time, for the rest of your life until you pass away, okay? If you don't do anything in life, you don't need to check your credit. You're probably not gonna need it, okay? Oh, this is very important, right? What's his name? The guy the finance guru, Dave Ramsey. If you're gonna start a business, please don't follow Dave Ramsey. God, he kills us in our office. So I'm debt free, I don't owe anybody, and I do everything on cash. Okay, let's look at your credit. I don't have a credit score. Why? I pay everything cash. Wow, try to explain that to the bank. There's a guy we pull up his credit. We use the system. We use this. By the way, we don't endorse this or anything. It's just a good way. This comes closest to what the banks are looking for in terms of FICO. So we look at this, and this is right. She was there. Couldn't believe it. No score. He goes, isn't that good? No, there's nothing to gauge your ability to be able to repay a loan. And he goes, well, can I still visit a bank? Yes, you can, but I don't think you're going to get in. And yeah, the minute I said this, the bank mentioned it. I said, hey, you're looking at so-and-so loans. Yes. Just to let you know, he has no score. Are you serious? Yes. Got turned away. I mean, there's just nothing there. So be careful. Dave Ramsey is great for personal life. I don't recommend it in the business. Identifying bank relationships. Guys, there is a huge difference between some people aren't able. So if we look at ability, the requirements that are needed for a loan, many people meet this criteria. If you don't, then you're not going to qualify for loans. You have to look at equity financing. But if you do and you don't get approved, that's where the SBDC comes in, because we look. There's actually banks. Wells Fargo just sent us an individual. Said, hey, we can't. Can you have somebody else look at this? Sometimes you're at the wrong bank. That's simply it. There's most of the big banks. There's this bank right here. It's awful when it's looking at startups. It's not as easy. I know because I worked there. So that's where I created a lot of great relationships with these banks right here, because I couldn't do a lot of deals in this particular space. So sometimes you're just at the wrong bank. The ones that we get referrals from, or we refer to, number one, number two is Chase, Wells Fargo. I'm still trying to figure these guys out here. They're new here. These guys operate a little different. These guys, usually, if you don't have somebody that's skilled behind the desk, you have to understand that sometimes the underwriters, the person making the decision is somebody in Tubucton, St. Louis, or somebody that doesn't understand oil and gas. Or what is hot shot? Is that a drink? No, it's truck and trailer. So it's hard to get some deals done here depending on what you're looking at, mostly in terms of startup. These guys are mostly cash flow lenders here, so it's really understanding the banking system. Sometimes it's sad to say is understanding who's behind that desk. That's the most important part. There's times where projects have come and they say, hey, this person's going to look at them like, no. Have this other person within that same bank look at that. Why? Hate to say it's going to make a difference. Regional banks, these are the types of banks we see here. These guys are a little, usually they make the decisions locally in most times, not all the times. This is kind of changing for us here. This as well, I call them sometimes paper pushers. They get your information and they just send it out somewhere else. That's why you don't hear the decision, or it's hard to get feedback on your decision quickly. Community banks, most of the time they have a credit analyst just like here. Sometimes I've seen that's telling me I almost need to finish here. Anyways, some guys have some really good credit analysts here, so we work with some individuals here. Credit analysts, sometimes the decisions here are made by a local board here. So anyways, these are the individuals we work here, the number one SBA lender in the area here. So Credit unions, believe it or not, they do make business loans. Actually, these credit unions didn't even believe me. They're like, really? These guys make? Yeah, we didn't know that. Well, we do. So we work a lot with these guys. They actually do SBA loans. Non-bank institutions, there's specialized institutions out there like GE Capital that look at equipment. I won't mention names of the company, but there's some truck and trailer. There's people specifically focused on niche markets in terms of financing. We had one, I just found out about this guy, focuses on cranes. Franchises, there's organizations that just focus on franchise. That's all they want to see. They're the specialists in franchise and use this product right here, SBA loan. Hotels as well, there's organizations that just, non-bank institutions, and there's some bank as well that all they focus is on hotels. There's one I contacted that all they do is, if there's an acquisition of $5-10 million, they want to look at it. That's all they do. I'm going to go right quickly because I had a time frame here. Non-bank business loans, believe it or not, there's new things coming up. I just got a call. The phone call I answered is from this guy right here, Funding Circle. So as y'all can tell, we look at everything. So these are online platforms. I talked to a couple of these individuals. I took a seminar from them, On Deck, Cabbage, Funding Circle, Foundation, these guys. And let me just tell you, what you do is you go online and you can do your loan online. They make the process very simple. 2 years ago, I think it was On Deck, one of these two, Funding Circle, On Deck, had about $50 million in loan. And then just recently this year, they had over $250 million. And moving really fast. There was only 7 of these 2.5 years ago. Now there's 25 to 35. So people that say it's not working, it is working. And they're growing fast. So micro lenders like Sion People Fund. There's other ways that we look at lending as well. We don't have these locally. The closest one is in El Paso. This is Austin, right? And by the way, Emily has gotten some deals done. We've actually closed loans for Acción here. We've gotten some deals done through People Fund. I've actually looked at some of these myself. Bowfly, matching, I call these like dating sites, like when you're dating, like Match.com and stuff. That's exactly what these are, Bowfly. We actually gotten some deals done here, Bowfly. What we do is we go online, we upload the information, and we shop it around to over 1,000 banks. That's what Bowfly is. And to us, it's free for a client if they want to go. There's a fee for them to be able to do all this. There's Fundera, Lindio. There's even one for if you're looking to get equity financing, you're looking for investors. There's one called EquityNet. So same thing. So there's online platforms for everything nowadays. Crowdfunding, Kickstarter. If you haven't looked at this, people have mixed feelings, but let me tell you this. I was at a venture capitalist forum in New York, and we spent 2 hours. The venture capitalists talking about this. If it's not a big deal, you might want to reconsider that. For some products that can't be funded the other way, we always refer people out to here. Equity financing, private investors. Many businesses are financed by private investors. People that you know personally. People always come to you and say, hey, do you know somebody that might be able to fund me? Like, I know investors. But I don't think if I say, hey, I have Michael Brennan, he's a good friend of mine. Yeah, but I know you, Enrique. If it's your product, if it's you, they mostly believe in you, Individual investors. This can be typically somebody you can call debt financing, but I also say investor because it's an investor. People don't look at this as a bank or something, but it can be in a form of a loan. Usually this is kind of the investment they do here. There's professional investors. I tell people all the time, there's these individuals here. I don't know what circles people run, but I guess I must be in the right circles. I have these people calling me every other month asking me if they can invest money in something. These people have extra money and they always want to invest. So these people I would approach. There's entrepreneurs. This is normally, once again, this is not set in stone. I've seen individuals like this invest $100,000. And I've seen individuals in here come like this and they invest up to $1 million. So, angel groups, this is the groups that I normally work with. If you want to contact them, the Texas Angel Network out of Austin. This is very important to know. Angels tend to bet on you as a business person rather than on your idea. If you look at a race, if you go to a horse race, they look at the jockey, not the horse. It's weird because the typical individual will look at the horse. It's just a different concept. If you want to remember something, angel investors think intellectual property, intellectual property, intellectual property. They want to know about your patents, your copyrights. That's what they want to know. Shark Tank, right here, angel investors. 100,000 to $1 million, and you know that they can easily do up to 2 million. They can do less. There's angel investment. There's angel investment funds where it's a fund that invests in an idea. Sometimes it's individuals. The ones that I've been involved with in San Angelo, Amarillo, it's usually a group of 7 to 10 entrepreneurs. They look at an idea and then they open it to anybody at the table. Says who wants to invest, who doesn't. And so if you're looking for $100,000, you might get 50,000. If you're looking for $1 million, you might get 100,000. You might get less. So you have to visit other groups. Venture capitalists look for huge returns. Projects with potential to turn 20 million investment into 200 million within 3 to 5 years. Usually look at deals 2 million and up. Usually technology, that's what they want to look at. Technology. Private equity groups, these guys like to buy existing companies. I call these guys, 2 reasons they want to look at, and I deal with these guys right now. They want to come in, look at a company, flip it. So sometimes they take a majority stake, sometimes they take a minority stake. They look at distressed companies. Working capital, they usually like coming injecting working capital. Like to make a lot of acquisitions. This is a unique space. Sometimes they like to just add on. So they have a platform. They say, we like this industry. We have a big company around here. We want to grow this. We want to add on to make it bigger. Those are called add-ons. So they look at smaller deals. Sometimes they want to get into a space they don't have, and they try to look for a big company. And I've sat in front of them and say, hey, if you have a good platform, we're willing to write a check for $70 million. And they will do it. Grants, many grants are geographically specific. That is, they are intended to promote economic development in a specific community or region. I want to stress that. People walk in our door for this, and I almost like to say they're non-existent. Grants programs exist, but many are so highly competitive that your realistic chances of getting any money are pretty slim, and a large number of them are awarded to nonprofit organizations. That's key. That means, for example, Midland, Odessa, their economic development corporations have actually grant money, but it's only for people that are going to set up a business that deals with manufacturing, specifically in that. And there's grant money available. If you look at their requirements, dear Lord, I would never do it. But there's people that will. Another grant that we saw in Dallas, some lady, well, I saw this grant. Yeah, do you live in Dallas? Or do you want to open your business here? For women-owned businesses, they're targeting a specific community. I saw some for Hispanics in southwest side of Dallas. And so there's grants out there. We saw one from McAllen, from their Economic Development Corporation. But McCamey has one. McCamey, little town, just east of here. I don't care what industry, they'll help you out. But you have to open it there. Okay, so if you're not willing to move to McCamey, it's not going to happen. The business plan, really important. I want to leave a little bit of time for questions, so I'm going to go through this. Believe it or not, more than ever, you need this either for equity or debt financing. That's something we specialize in our office in. Don't forgo this. This is very important. It's really your roadmap. It really helps you answer a lot of questions that you might be overlooking. Lenders want to look at this. Basically, if you go online, you can find any template. They all look, there's over, I think close to 1,000 of them, and they basically have this. I have a good deal for you. I know a group that can do this very cheap. It's called free. And they can do it for you. It's called the Small Business Development Center, and they work really well, and highly recommend it. There's people that walk in our door and say, hey, I don't understand. The banker didn't want to take this, and he told me I need to come to you because you guys know how to do this, but how much are you going to charge me? And I'm like, why charge? We're funded by the federal government, the state of Texas, and local, so we don't charge for our service. Well, I paid $1,500 for this, and it doesn't work, so what are you going to do different? And so we show them ours, and I said, we're not going to charge you anything. You can see the light bulb go off. So you mean if I would have come to you guys? Yes. save yourself a lot of money and time. Any questions?
Tell me if I'm right. I believe I've heard that the SBDCs, they don't just help you with startups, but they help you with expansion or even late in the sale of a company, things like that.
Not the full sell of it. Some of them do. They have specialized. It's an area that I'm focusing on, so we can kind of look at it. We have to be kind of it's a delicate area because people want you to do evaluation, and there's 3 types. Really one method, but you have to go through all 3 in some cases to give evaluation. And if it's really not at that price, then they can come against you. But yeah, we look at it. There's Osaka Restaurant has one location in Odessa, opened one in Midland. They're opening their 3rd one in Odessa. We've been through that whole process. So yes, we do help with expansion.
If you had like a startup, if you were going to get into it and you could put up 5%, can someone who's trying to start up and get funding, can they hope to end up with 10% ownership, maybe on a 5% stake? Like 5% of that is sweat equity or whatever you want to call it?
That's hard. Sweat equity, you have to look at investors for that. Through a bank, that's sweat equity. There's not, no.
Yeah.
Now, if let's say there's a scenario we had where somebody said, hey, I looked at this business, I didn't have enough, I did owner finance, I paid the owner back, here's what I did in lease payments, and I went ahead and invested in the sign, and he kept tabs. It was through his account. Now he was applying for a loan. We use that as his equity portion. He said, oh, really? Yeah. And do you got receipts on all that? Yes. And so because they went from owner finance to now do a loan to acquire the whole thing. So it's all about structuring loans. That's the key. I always say. People say, how do you have success? It's all about how you structure the loan. What I mean structure, there's individuals that have come to us and say, hey, I got my bank. They said yes. We went. We showed them the business plan. They said, hey, we want to do the truck or the equipment you want to do, but they don't want to do the working capital. I'm like, great. Let's get it done. They're like, what do you mean? They don't want to do the working capital. I can't start. Well, no, let them do the equipment. We have another bank that'll do the working capital. Really? Who? How? That's none of your business. You focus on your business. Let us do it. And we match them up. We just structure it different, and we're able to get both. And so it's all about how you structure the loan. Let us figure that out. I tell people, you focus on what you know how to do. It's what successful people do. And let us focus on what we know how to do. Some people have found out the hard way. They somehow, I don't know, overnight and without doing anything, that they can do what we do. And 2.5 years after 7 banks have said no, they come to us and say, okay. And I have to have a come to Jesus conversation and say, okay, we tried it your way, let's try it our way. And you have to get creative at times. Even when you qualify for a loan. It means you qualify for a loan, you have your credit, you have your equity, and it still gets very tricky. Troy knows this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yes.
You know, I was just going to say, I've had the good fortune of working with Enrique's team, and you guys do a fantastic job. Every interaction has been so positive, and I certainly thank you for the help that you've provided my firm. But I guess on a global scale, brag just a little bit more, if you will. I know the placements of debt and equity that you guys bring to the table is significant, but what about in terms of job growth and the overall economic impact for the region?
Yeah, our goals 2 years ago, we were supposed to, we have 4 criteria: cases, how many people we see. We had our goal of 220. Now our goal is 220. We're less than that. We had more people. We've had over 300 new people walking our door. Jobs, we have to start 35 new businesses a year, and we had 60 something. We had to create 180 jobs. We were at 260 something last year. This year they want us at 250. We're already at 208. We're at 86% of our goal, and we're halfway through the fiscal year. So, yeah. So the impact. That's the reason. Even the president. I shouldn't say this, but the president came knocking on my door like, where are you getting all this money from? We can't get that type of money. I didn't want to be disrespectful. Say, hey, we show results. It's called business. we don't ask money for a dream in the future. We actually so there's people, because they're seeing those results, they're seeing the income. SBCs, we're known that for every dollar you invest with us, we help create we help feed $2 back into the economy in terms of sales tax. So for every dollar that comes in, it creates $2 back into the economy. So when you look at that and you see our results, there's organizations such as the City of Midland, City of Odessa, saying, hey, y'all need money? It makes them look good. And we're helping with the economy. We know the backbone of our country is small business. So it's the impacts there. Our thing is to really focus. I really love our organization because, I mean, nothing against any other organization, but there's organizations that here in our area that say we help with small business development, but they want your membership or they want this. We don't want your membership. We don't. I mean, it's some people look at us and they're like, okay, truly, really, what do y'all want in return? I said, what I want is when you open that door and you hire people, I want those numbers. Really, that's all you want? That's what and I want a success story. When I was training her, really, that's all you want? No money? No money. That's what we want. So you help me get a $1 million, $2 million loan, and all you're asking for is jobs, right? The numbers, that's all. Anything specific? No. And so it's pretty nice. We're not getting that now, but 2 years ago I was telling them, it was funny, they saw so much value, I guess, in what we were saying. And I said, it was like every other month I had somebody say, okay, I know your services are no cost, but they pull out their checkbook. And I'll be like, oh, no, we can't do that. Why not? So I'm glad I have an ethical character behind me, but I can make some good money. So any questions? Come on, there's no way.
Are small businesses truly where you hear these numbers that small businesses are where jobs are created? What's your experience with that?
Yeah, it makes an impact. We still deal with the mom and pop, one or two, but we had some businesses that opened up that, wow, the impact they have in terms of jobs created is unbelievable. It helps our numbers like crazy. Yeah, I mean, let me just let you know, when we look at our jobs created is what helps fund us. If we don't hit those parameters, our funding decreases. So it's important for us to look at. I have a banking background, so numbers are all important for me, and productivity and performances. I'm just huge. It's weird because I'm big on that, and our regional office is like, they don't even look at them. They're like, oh, you hit your numbers. Oh, okay. Good job. When I was in banking, I'd get huge bonuses. I love hitting my numbers because my boss was like, I'm going to give you an extra bonus. Oh, great. Thanks. Stay up till 10 o'clock on Friday working. That was worth it. Now it's like, what? Why am I doing this? But it's rewarding. It's nice to see people smile. And I'm not the nicest person when I'm dealing with people because most of the time they don't understand, and I don't try to be nice about it. I don't sugarcoat things. And they look at me like, you're not being nice. And I say, you're not going to like me because we're going to change this whole thing you like. We're going to change it around. You're going to hate me. But I promise you, when you get funded, you're going to like me. So they're all happy. I said, I've never seen people at a Super Bowl not happy, right? I've seen people not get to the Super Bowl be unhappy. So I always call it I like, y'all can tell I like football. So it's always about, we have huddles, that's our meetings, touchdown. Do we make a touchdown? And to reach the Super Bowl. It's not easy through the process, but once you get it at the end, you're successful and you meet your goal. It's nothing but happiness. So, any questions? There's no way there can be questions. I left some room because I've done this presentation that just came from San Salvador. Oh my God, they blew me away. 2 hours of questions. I was worn out. I went to sleep after that, just to let you know that. I walked out of the meeting, I said, great, thank you. And I went straight to my room and I crashed out. And this was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Anything anybody want to share? Sarah, Troy, I know y'all got experience in this.
My lasting impression is really, you guys do a great job and what a great service. I think it sort of goes understated a little bit, the value to the region that you guys are bringing.
I tell people, we don't have marketing dollars. We're not Budweiser. We're just not going to do that. So the more we can spread the word out, there's no doubt. I'm not trying to do a sales pitch here, okay? Sales is my background, but I'm not. Truly, really, you guys, every one of you have somebody that you know, close to you, family or friend, that wants to start a business, and I promise you do know. And I think sometimes we're just that piece of the pie. So people think that to be successful in business, you start here and it's a straight line to the finish line. It's not. I can say it's over here and it's a hill like this. Sometimes that downhill is like this, and then it goes, and here's the winning flag. And sometimes, depending on the person's experience, education, knowledge, they have to overcome this huge deep hole. It's either that deep hole is small, and they need that little bridge, and we're that little bridge. Sometimes it's a huge bridge. It's like, God, we need cranes and everything. We need Troy to come in and some other people. We need CPAs. We need attorneys to come in. And so, it takes a whole group. So I think we're just, depending on the individual, we're just that piece of the pie. And so let people know. People are always struggling in one way. I mean, there's people that they come to us, and sometimes we're just a bouncing board. Sometimes we have people come in there. God, I think sometimes they're more knowledgeable than we are. And I'm scratching my head thinking, why are you here? I mean, you seem to know it all. But they want. I think one thing successful people do they're always seeking advice, and they're trying to reassure themselves of what they're doing. And successful people do that. It's sad that other individuals don't do that. I always tell people, always look for advisors, look for a mentor. Always, I have mentors all the time. When I was in banking, I did really well, and I had a mentor. And one day I told him, hey, can you give me your key to success? It's a multi-millionaire from Odessa, and he's like, Enrique. He didn't want to share it, but after the third lunch, he said, I'll give you a piece of advice. Always hire people that are smarter, more skilled, and better than you at what you do. Emily doesn't know, that's why I hired her. But anyways, but the young lady that worked with me at the bank, she actually taught me the alphabet in first grade. She was way smarter than I was, way smarter. And we did great. Our bank was #1 in operations, and I owe it to her. So I owe it to the people that surround me. But trying to translate that to business people is hard. They think it's just them and they want to do it all. And yes, you have to wear a lot of hats at the beginning, but you also have to look for advice. Right now, I'm looking at a space I'm getting into is mergers and acquisitions, and I have a mentor and advisor out of Houston, and I go visit him once every quarter, and I seek advice from him because I'm starting off. This guy has no website, has just a business card, makes $1 million a year, only works 7 months out of the year, does not want to work one more day past 7 months, and only works 3 days out of the year, or 3 days out of the week. That's what he does. And I know how much he makes because when I was in banking, he was an advisor, and I used to wire the funds. So you get the picture of how he became my friend. I was like, oh, I want to meet him. It's like, how much do I wire to him? It's like, okay, I need to get to know that guy. And so, like, hey, my name's Enrique. Remember I did the bank side of that. Oh, yeah, they talked about you. You did great. I said, yeah, and you did great too. And I'm thinking, yeah, you got paid well. So once I started getting the space, I made a phone call one day and I said, hey, you remember me from Bank of America? Yes. Hey, I'm looking for a mentor advisor. Do you mind being? Yeah, sure. Why would you want me to mentor you? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, you are successful. I know. Second, I know how much you make, and I want to be there one day. So I truly believe in that. Any other questions?
Do y'all get many people that want to do something but not sure what they want to do? They're just looking for opportunities and to go build or start up.
We do. We get some people that
y'all advise people on what to look for.
That's a tough one. It's going back to some of the stuff that was talked about earlier. Find your passion. Find something mostly that you're good at. Sometimes it's not. I always read different articles. Sometimes it's not really about your passion, but that's important. Find something that you're passionate about. Sometimes it doesn't work. I know somebody, we graduated from high school, that was passionate about some sports thing, and he made it a business model, but I knew the business model wasn't working. The guy struggled and almost went bankrupt. But he did follow his passion. The business model just didn't work. So that's kind of a balance. So we tell people, what are you good at? What are you skilled? What are you experienced at? Sometimes go that avenue because it's a lot harder to start a brand new concept. If you have management experience, it is good, but that is a tough conversation to have. A tough conversation. We just tell people to keep looking, something that's close that they're passionate about, something they have experience, skilled. We had a guy, and I saw him. He had great management. To me, I believe you have management experience, you can do several other things, and that's true to a certain point. And I saw him go into the restaurant industry, and that was not his background, and he failed. And he did great. I mean, he tried his best, and he was a very, very smart guy. He just wanted to do something else, and he struggled. And so it's a hard conversation to have. Going back, just go to what you know, go to the network that you know, and try to build something around that. Do you have an answer that you can add?
Oh, I was just thinking that, like, that we have a research department out of Lubbock, so sometimes we can provide clients with just information about a certain industry that they may not have known about, and, you know, just to having all that information at your fingertips could be that deciding factor, like, oh, this is something I really want to dive further into, or forget about it.
Do your research. Whatever you're going to get to, do your homework. Do your homework. There's a gentleman, a friend of mine, that came to me and said, "Hey, Enrique, I'm going into this." I'm like, "Wow, that's completely different than funeral home." His current business was. I said, "Let me just do some research for you on that." I couldn't find any research. I said, "Wow, that tells me everything." I said, "Here's the little bit of information I found." He's like, "Oh, God, I don't like that." So, doing your homework is the best thing you can do. Okay, what do you want to get into? Just what kind of feeling do you have? People know they're looking at something. They tell you that I don't have any clue. Yes, they're looking at something. Do your homework, what you're looking at. I have gotten calls, like there's a guy that looked at me and said, "Tell me what in the oil, I know you can make money, tell me what." That's a hard conversation. I can't, because if I point him to sand hauling, well, sand hauling just went down. It was great 8 months ago. But so now they're going to look at me like, "Didn't you tell me sand hauling was good?" And we don't want to be I don't want that liability behind me. Just like they tell me how to structure, "Hey, how should I structure my business with an investor? Should I do 5, 10%? I never open my mouth for that. Because guess who's going to live with the results of that? Not me, they are. So people most of the time want us to make a decision for them, and we cut the line. We say we're not going to go beyond that. We're here for advice. It's a tough one. But we don't mind having those conversations. To me, it's just sitting down talking to people, let's sit back, talk, think about things, and they'll come to you. We were talking about meditating, just sitting back, and it happens to us. We can't find a solution. It's like, let's think about it overnight. Let's just sit back. So I see Emily sometimes walking outside. It's a great place to walk. And all of a sudden come back, "Oh, here's what we could do. Why didn't we think of that?" It's just sitting back and thinking about it. All right? Thank you very much, guys. 2:33. Oh my God.